Hello, Supercoaches. The teams are in for round 6, and we've got 2 really good cheapies to choose from this week. We'll get to them in a sec. Our panel, Wilson Smith, how's your team travelling?
Slowly but surely moving up the ranks. I think I'm in from 44,000 to 35,000, so making leaps and bounds.
And our special guest today, the Supercoach Whisperer, how's your team travelling?
A little bit better than Wilson's, not by much, but cracked the top 10k, which is good. Moving in the right direction, slowly but surely.
And of course, bye period coming up, so we'll be chatting about that a fair bit later on. Lots of good buys coming up this week as well. I want your number one takeaway from the teams, Wilso.
Biggest takeaway for me is Thomas Cant being named in the back row as well. There's some chat that he could be named at centre, which if he was, I was not interested in him at all, but he's holding on to the back row spot for now, so I think he's a really good buy.
Whisperer, what's yours?
Trell Mitchell. Could it be anyone else? Centre last week, bit of fullback, bit of half, but playing 5'8" this week. We'll put the pressure on you over the next coming weeks to get some duels.
Well, you've already putting that pressure on me, that's for sure.
No, Latrell at 5'8", it's probably the biggest talking point of the NRL landscape as well.
The guy that I like, and this is for next week, not this week, but Billy Smith, retained at centre, was pretty good on the weekend, scored 70-odd points. Could be the cheapie of the week for next week, but obviously take a look. The flip side of that, though, is that Nwonga Nitawazi is out of the 17, so he's a pretty popular Supercoach buy. May not be there on game day, but we're also hearing that Dom Young could be the guy that drops out, so definitely one to watch there. A segment that I've just thrown in at the last minute. I think it is the biggest question for Supercoaches this week. Dylan Egan versus Thomas Cant, 2 really good cheapies. Who are you going with? Are you Team Cant, Team Egan, or both?
Before teams dropped, I was leaning Team Egan.
Yeah.
I think he's a better long-term play and more of a slow burn. But Cant, I think, better short-term play and more. He'll probably make more money, but he also costs a little bit more. So I'm a bit torn, but I think I lean Cant just.
Yeah, I flipped as well. I was very much Egan, but team list probably more favouring Cant. It's tough. We've seen a guy like Nafahu White, the injuries keep piling and he keeps getting a run in the sun. So maybe we do get Cant for a bit longer than what we initially suspected.
Yeah, so in 1 week they've lost Safidi, Elliott, Hetherington, Schiller. I think the key injury though is Dylan Lucas. Thomas Cant won't. I don't think will be starting in that team. Certainly not in the back row when Dylan Lucas comes back into that team. Looks like he's still out for a couple of weeks. So we should get a really good short-term couple of 100k maybe out of Cant, whereas Dylan Egan will be much slower, but he's got better job security. Yeah. I'm leaning just towards Cant at the moment, but I think I'm just going to have. They're both good cheapies. I'm going to have to find room for both.
Yeah, I think I might bring in both as well.
The good thing of a boost. Let's use one. I'm probably going to have to use one this week.
That'll be my third boost. Supercoach Plus, your trial has run out. It's $29.95 for the year. Get all the projections, what scores are at venues, ownership percentages, captaincy percentages, all that sort of stuff. It is absolutely essential if you're serious about Supercoach. $29.95 for the year, or you can just get the code subscription, get all the articles, videos, podcasts, etc. for $59 for the year. That's $1 a week. It's a bargain. Dolphins v the Panthers is the first game of the round. Gilbert is back from suspension for the Dolphins. That means Plath goes to lock. He switched between edge and lock a fair bit this year. The thing that I like is that he's sort of snuck under the radar a bit, averaging 67, which is essentially his same output from last year. So he's a guy that's on my radar. Not for now. He's only in 10% of teams, but he plays that first bye in round 12. So a guy to keep tabs on, but not to bring in now.
Yeah, I want to watch and see how Plath and Gilbert both go back in the team together. I think Plath looked really good last week with Gilbert out of the side. So it's still a wait and see for me.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a wait and see. The interchange between a lock and edge is a bit weird. The PPM goes down at edge, as we suspect, but let's just wait and see what the role looks like. And
Jermaine Asako is the 15th most popular purchase. Now, you own him already, don't you? You were just talking about how you want to get rid of him, and he's 15th most popular buy.
Yeah, it's just rocks or diamonds. Played round 1 against South, scored 99. I think he had 2 tries, cheering, and then it was a string of 38, 40, 35. And then the big score on the weekend, which was great, but up against, I believe, Penrith this week. Now, I know they've been leaky, but I'm very happy to back 4 years of historical data to say they're a pretty good team. I couldn't recommend bringing him in.
At the Panthers, they got Dylan Edwards back, which is a big boost for them. Blaze Talangi is playing at 5'8", so he's served his apprenticeship for now, but it may only be for 1 week because Jack Cole is due back next week from that concussion. Nathan Cleary, second most popular purchase, very cheap. He's in the 600,000s, which is very rare. I own him already. Would you be getting on this week? And a lot of people need halfbacks, let's face it, with Reynolds potentially injured and Humphreys out for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they're must-sells now, and I do already have Nathan Cleary, but if I didn't, I would definitely be bringing him in this week. You can get him at a reduced price. I mean, he'd probably be pretty cheap next week as well, but I think this is the week to jump on.
Yes, so the BE is still in the hundreds, it's 116 off the top of my head.
Still very good chance of hitting that though, making
Yeah.
money. In saying that though, this is the last week that 2 from the HIA will be in that rolling average. So next week the break even is going to be very low. So it's now or never for Cleary. I jumped on last week, even though with the high break even, I was very happy with the 94 first game back against the Dolphins with Dylan Edwards back. Who knows?
Yep, get on Cleary. Tom Jenkins is still a must-have. You should have got on last week. Made 130k in 1 week, which is super rare in Supercoach. On to the Dragons. So they got the same 17. Dylan Egan, let's elaborate a bit on him because he is currently the 3rd most popular purchase. The job security is better than Thomas Cant. I think we all agree on that. The minutes are not as good because he's playing 50 odd minutes. Flanagan loves him. He's bottom dollar, which is really good, whereas Cant is almost about 80, 90k more. I like him. I think he looks like eye test. He looks great. He looks tough. I'm going to bring him in. I'm just going to go for both of them.
Yeah, I'm a fan. He looks like a pretty safe bet. Like you said, Flano seems to like him a lot. He's playing a pretty solid and consistent role off the bench. So the minutes are there, which can't be said for a lot of other bench front row cheapies. And I think the fact that he is bottom dollar is really enticing.
Also, I don't think Luciano's spot is like nailed down either. Remember last year, I think Flano had all these comments about how great of a trainer Egan was, and we all sort of, we got to have him. He didn't play, served another year in Cup. I think there's a world where he does start on that left edge by the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope so. Definitely hope so. Clint Gutherson, we've been speaking off air about him a little bit. For me, he's the one that got away. He's got 3 tons so far this year, which is huge. The only game that he didn't go well in was against the Storm, who are a great defence. Plus, he was actually best on ground in that game. It just didn't get Supercoach points. So he's killing it, but I can't pay 850 odd K for him this week. If you got on a few weeks ago, well done, but I wouldn't be bringing him in this week.
Yeah, last week was the decision for me, and I was tossing up between him and Paps, and I ended up going Paps. And I'm still happy with Paps, but I did wish I got on Gutho just for the short-term play. He's still going to make a bit of cash, but the big price rise was last week, so I can't justify paying that much money for him anymore.
I fell into the old adage of never trade in or out a gun. I didn't want to buy Gutho at the price and trade him out. I wish I did, but maybe we're not trading him out. He looks like a borderline top 5 fullback and could be a season keeper.
Yeah, I was thinking of him when he was on offer, what was it, in round 4?
630k or something.
That he was just a quick cash grab, but he's looking like a dead set keeper right now. I will say though, and this is stats from Rob Sutherland, who I hate to talk up, but he makes a lot of sense with this one. His average in try assists and line break assists this year is 46. His average in try assists and line break assists for the last 5 seasons is only 16. So law of averages says that he's going to come down pretty severely. He can't keep it up.
Yeah, it just seems like the Dragons' attack at the moment is fully revolving around him.
Yeah.
So in games where they're scoring points, he's involved. But the Dragons' attack is a bit flimsy at times. So they're not going to be scoring all these points through him every single week. So you'd think eventually he comes down.
Onto the Titans. Fafita of the JoJo variety is back in. So Sam Verrills. My boy David Fafita, who I still somehow own and am too stubborn to sell, is back to the bench. They've also got Tino for Asamoah out for 1 game, but don't even think about selling him. Jalen De Groot. I came into last week thinking De Groot will be into my team. He's going to be the cheapie of the week for this round. He got a try assist with line break assist and still only got 30 odd points. So his BE is 20. He's not going to go up at all. So Is he a genuine option as a cheapie this week when you got Egan and Cant?
No, I think there's just better options. I think this is a good matchup for him. This could be a game that he goes big, but I think just from what we've seen from him so far, I don't think he's going to be scoring too many points.
Not everyone that's 200k that gets named is an option. And
Yeah.
I was at the Roosters game a couple of weeks ago watching him get a try contribution, played 80 and scored 20 points. So it's just like just rough viewing. In saying that, I only did very well against Dragons last week. If you're a draft guy, then it could be a good play this week, but not for Classic.
He's averaging 7.5 runs for the year, which is extreme. Like that is, you don't see that in rugby league. Not with the modern fullback anyway. Of course, Jaden Campbell, some good little updates for him on the weekend. Went from 20 odd at full time up to 52. The Broncos v the Roosters, very Supercoach relevant clash. We could talk about 10 or 15 guys out of this game. Reynolds has been named, but Bomber Bedell, our spy up there at the Courier Mail in Brisbane, tell us that he's at pretty long odds to play. Do you sell Reynolds, even though it probably is only 1 week?
I do think he's a sell. I think this is the week to upgrade him to Nathan Cleary.
Yep.
Yeah, he does this every year. He has pockets of 2 or 3 weeks where he's just super hot. He's playing great footy, but yeah, if you can get Cleary, then he's the guy.
Jesse Arthars is a popular sell, and yeah, he has peaked. Payne Haas, only 51 points on the weekend. Absolute shocker from him. Unforgivable.
So,
I captained him as well. So
Yeah. He was captained by about almost half of the top 10% of super coaches. So all the good super coaches were captaining Haas.
I think I'm going to captain him again this week. Just the fact that he went so bad last week, I think a lot of people are going to move off him. And it's a good matchup against the Roosters, so I'm just going to stick it on him again.
The other really super coach relevant guy is obviously Gearmat Shibasaki. Is he... Look, he's got the buy coming in around 12 and 15, so you'll be selling certainly before then. But is he a cash cow or is he a genuine keeper going forward? Because that left edge attack is red hot. He had a bit of a shocker on the weekend, only got 30 odd with a try. But still, with Ben Hunt patrolling that left edge, there's a lot of points on that side. Those points went mostly to Arthars last week, but every second week they seem to be going to Shibasaki.
Yeah, I've got them both, and I've just been alternating between them, and it's been pretty successful. Even though Jesse Arthars is capped out as well, I don't think either of them are urgent sells just yet, because I think they could both go big this week.
yeah, I think we had this discussion last week. It was popular everywhere. Arthur's break-even was 60 odd. And if you got 40, which is his worst game, you lost 20k, played the Tigers. I'm like, surely we can gamble on the Tigers. I think it's the same thing here against the Chooks. As for Shibasaki, what odds do you reckon you could have laid if I told you, hey, by round 5, he's a seasoned keeper? It's what a story. -2 break even. I think you write it out, but I can't probably hold past round 10.
I still reckon that the Broncos should sell his goatee in the merchandise store.
I'd
buy a stick-on Gearmat Shibasaki moustache for sure, or goatee. Onto the Roosters. So Townsend has been dropped. That means that Hugo Savala comes in. He's got dual position, so he's back row and halfback, which is pretty rare for Supercoach. He could be a downgrade option in a couple of weeks. Joe Barton, who sits near us, was even suggesting that he might kick goals ahead of Sandon Smith. I don't think that's going to be the case, but in any case, Savala for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if he... We'll get a look this week. If he does kick goals, then he's a definite option. I think for now, it's just a wait and see.
Yeah, 45 break even. He is bottom dollar, so can't get any lower than what he is. I think there was one game in Cup last year where him and Sandon both they interchanged, and I think Sandon kicked a little bit better on the day, so definitely one to watch.
There is a world where Thomas Cant plays the next 2 games. Then Dylan Lucas comes back, Cant gets dropped, and then Savala is the cheapie that you bring in, you cash out 200k. It could happen. Teddy, what are your thoughts on him as a buy? Because the Roosters have this amazing buy schedule. Teddy presumably won't play Origin this year if Dylan Edwards is fit. So Teddy is one of these guys that's coming down to a really nice price, and I'm looking to buy relatively soon. Yeah,
well, the week everyone went Gutho, I zagged another zig and I took Teddy. Look, obviously Gutho outscored him, but Teddy's done pretty well. He's got 194, and I think his break even something about 70. And 830k, it's the cheapest you were getting. We saw what he did last year. He dropped from Origin. I think he went on to average something like 90 points for the rest of the season. If he's a guy that you're picking, it's probably not a trade out that you're ever going to have to make for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's not someone I've really even considered, really, but I do think he's a solid option.
We'll see why Wong's really popular this week as well. He is, again, these stats from Rob Sutherland, I hate talking him up, but he has averaged 76 since moving to the starting back row, 56 of those in base. He's over 500k, it's pretty expensive, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't keen a couple of days ago. The news that Lindsay Collins out for up to 6 weeks. We'd probably see someone like Nat Butcher go back for that middle rotation, which would then see Radley play 13, which would probably leave the edge spot pretty open for Suolong. Yeah, obviously hugely touted last year, didn't pan out, but looks like he's got all the makings and really putting it together this year. It's probably the last week to get him, though. I can't pay $580, $590 for Suolong.
No. Yeah, Butcher named a prop this week, so good news there. Also, so many popular cheapies there. Toya, Sandon Smith, Nafahu White. They're all coming to their peak or getting close. How long do you think you'll be holding Toya, Sandon, Nafahu? Or are these guys, do you hold them after, keep them for that first buy?
Well, I mean, with Nafahu White, they keep having injuries to their forwards, so he just keeps ticking on. Every time I think he's sort of coming up to being a sell, they get another injury and he just keeps chugging along. So I think you can keep riding for a little while. Their buy round coverage is great. So, I mean, you could just hold them up until the first buy.
Nafahu definitely. Toya, I'll probably look to sell, depending on what happens with him. I mean, he could score a try and initiate a whole bunch of price rises again.
Also a world where you sell one Roosters centre next week to the other in Billy Smith, so
true.
It's just a bit of interchanging there. And we know Billy Smith's pedigree when he stays on field, so one to watch.
On to the Sharkies v the Sea Eagles. Sharkies have Wilton and Talakai back in the team. I've noticed that Nicho Hynes is the 8th most sold player. It makes sense on some level in that his BE is 126. I watched that game closely on the weekend and he did not look good. He was passing 5 metres before the line. He was not engaging the line at all. Maybe he's still struggling with that groin injury. I'm not sure. He didn't look good, but he still ended up with 50 odd points. And that's the good thing with Nicho Hynes. He can have an absolute Barry, still get 50 points, and he's still averaging 71, covers that first buy, covers the first 2 buys, I think. So, look, I own him. I'll certainly be holding. I don't understand why he's the 8th most sold player.
Yeah, I mean, he's only going to lose you cash if you sell him, if you sell him later. I think he's a genuine keeper. He's got great buy round coverage. It's a good matchup this week. I mean, I'm a Manly fan, but we came off a 48-point drubbing from the Storm last week. So this could be a matchup where he randomly goes huge because he does have those games. So it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've just put here, super coaches can be fickle because last week he was in the top 10 most purchased.
Exactly. It's
and
so
now
strange.
Jerome Hughes is the flavour of the week. Supercoach, it's just written in history that Hughes is going to score 45, Nico's going to score 100, and then we'll be back here next week to talk about the exact same opposite of Jerome Hughes being the most sold and Nico being the most bought.
Very true. Good way of putting it. Onto the Sea Eagles. There's actually not much doing there. I feel like I'm Peter V'landys now. Getting Ali's name wrong. He is back in after an AC joint injury, and Waddell is suspended. Any love for Clayton Fualalo? He'd be a cheapie in a lot of other weeks. Scored that try on the weekend in junk time, it must be said. 16 odd runs. He looks all right. He's an absolute try-scoring machine in New South Wales Cup, but I think there are better cheapies for this week.
Yeah, and I think he's just not really what we need at the moment. And he's a bit too inconsistent. I think a couple of weeks ago when he played, I think he only scored 18. So it just doesn't pass the eye test for me either.
I've moved on, if that helps you with my answer. I just flipped the page over.
Rabbitohs v Cows. So, Latrell Mitchell at 5'8". They also got Ewan Aitken back for his first game for the club, and Alex Johnson back from that rib injury. Obviously, Jamie Humphreys is the big news for Supercoach, and the best replacement, Cleary. I mean, if you can get Cleary, you absolutely go for it.
Lock it in.
And Peter Mamazelos. Do we sell him first or do we sell Starling first? It's a very common issue this week. There's a lot of super coaches who own both. The advantage of Mamazelos is that he's playing 80 minutes or pretty close each week. So it could be a better option going forward, but he doesn't play that first buy. Starling's playing less minutes, but doing more in those minutes and plays that first buy. Who would you be selling first?
I'd be moving on from Mamazelos first, personally. I don't actually own him. I have Starling, and I'm sort of tossing up whether I move Starling on. I think his break-even's 55 this week, so he may drop a little bit of cash, but I don't think he's an urgent sell. But I just think he's got the attacking upside that Mamazelos doesn't have.
I prescribe to the theory of more minutes on the park, more chances for attack So, I mean, I sold Starling last week and he got 51 with a try assist. The upside's there, but I just think I like a guy that's playing 80. I think the injuries have opened up for Mamazelis to play 80, and nothing like a 78th minute junk time try to fix your Friday night.
Yeah, he's got some good forwards running off him as well, close to the line. Onto the Cows. So Ruben Cotter's back after his illness last week. What is your plan with Jackson Purdue? Because the BE is -7, set for a 50k rise this week, but then they have to buy. So we've got a big decision to make next week. Do we sell Purdue, or is he going well enough to, and he's smashing the eye test, he's looking very dangerous. Is he going well enough to hold for much longer?
I definitely think he's a hold for beyond the next 2 weeks. Just like you said, definitely passed the eye test. He took a few weeks to sort of get going. I mean, the Cowboys' whole team did really, but he's really passing the eye test and looks really good. So every time he gets the ball, he's looking likely to do something. So I think he's a hold for a while still.
Yeah, I didn't start with him, surprisingly. I went against him and went for Shibasaki, but so I guess I can speak unbiasedly on this, but he's looked much improved. The first 2 or 3 weeks, as you said, Wilson, it was tough to watch. He's a natural half. He's a little bit undersized to play centre, but it looks like he's growing into that role as weeks go on, and the Cowboys are improving, which is a big tick as well.
Yep, and also Drinkwater. So with his buys, he's got that buy next week, then the buy in round 12. From 13 onwards, he is going to be very, very tempting.
Yeah, it covers 2 of the major buys, but most importantly covers all 3 of those mini buys where the rules go back to originally. You've got to have a full squad. I think he could be really handy, as we just said. Cows are improving attack-wise. He's goal kicking, which is a huge tick as well. Yeah,
goal kicking's huge and very consistent, even though you see him as kind of an inconsistent player when you're watching him in actual NRL. His top score is 76, bottom score is 52.
Yeah.
So you know what you're going to get, Supercoach-wise. Eels v the Raiders, Lomax on the wing. Now, this did happen in the game on the weekend, but this is the first time we've actually seen it locked in on a team sheet. I love Lomax on a wing. Look, he probably plays Origin. If you bring him in, it's potentially only for half a dozen weeks or so. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Jason Riles in the press conference came out and said that Will Penasini and Zach Lomax will be that right combination moving forward, which is music to Supercoach's ears. He averaged something like 82 points last year on the wing. But as you said, Origin looming, a buy in around 9, 105 break even. I think this week it's all pointing towards waiting, but if you wait too long, as you said, that window dwindles because of Origin.
Isaiah Yongi, big ton after I sold him on the weekend. What about Dylan Brown? 9th most popular player. And if you listen to all the coverage of Dylan Brown, the contract situation, etc., you would think that Dylan Brown is having absolute shockers every single weekend. He's only dropped 40k for Supercoach, averaging 63. So decent guy for this week. Obviously doesn't play Origin, so will be crucial over that period.
Yeah, I mean, the Eels have been struggling, but he's still been really consistent for Supercoach. And I think the 5'8" is a bit of a wasteland this year, and he's sort of one of the only real consistent options out there. So I do like him. I've got Cameron Munster, so I'm not getting on Brown anytime soon, but I do like him.
After that bye that's coming up, I'm definitely considering him. I can go Dewey out for him, which I think would be a good upgrade. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at him after that bye. Halfback duel as well, which really helps. Who knows what happens to halfback? You've got the coverage there to move him up if anything does go wrong. But yeah, from the media coverage, it makes it sound like he's been awful, but for Supercoach, he's been absolutely fine.
And a bit like with Jalen de Groot, last week at this time, I was thinking Riley Smith will be in this week for either Mamazelos or Starling. Then he played big minutes, ended up playing 65 minutes, of which about 4 were golden points. So let's say he's going to average around 60 minutes for mid-30s points. So he's not going to make a massive amount of cash. What are our thoughts? Is he an option?
I mean, I'm still going to wait and see. If he actually ends up starting this week and they don't do a late swap, and he still plays decent minutes, I think he's potentially an option. But I think just it's too uncertain. The fact that they've named him there last week and then last minute just pushed him back to the bench, I think there's a few red flags there.
Yeah, it reminds me of Danny Levi from last year. The role was there, the scoring wasn't, but Levi turned into Ken Irvine for the first month last year, which Riley Smith has yet to do.
Onto the Raiders, no changes for them. Matty Nicholson, the 10th most popular buy. Now, the time to get on Nicholson was a couple of weeks ago. I wouldn't be getting on him now at his price, particularly given that we've got Hosking due back next week or the week after. Now, Nicholson might be playing well enough to keep Hosking out of the team or put Hosking onto the bench. I don't know, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to buy Nicholson. I'm a very happy owner.
Yeah, same. Very happy owner, but yeah, the time to get on was last week or the week before. So yeah, I personally think that when Hosking is back, he will start over Nicholson, but it's too uncertain.
I am the biggest Matty Nicholson fan getting around. Watched a lot of Super League on him and rate him highly. I think he does start over Hosking. I think we saw that in round 2. He did have the niggle in round 1, didn't play in Vegas, but regardless, we saw the minutes go down. I think they had Simi Sasagi on the bench take 15 from him. I think Hosking is obviously good enough to cover on an edge for time, and Nicholson's still quite young, so I don't expect 80 when the Raiders are fully fit. And as you said, the time was to buy was a fortnight ago.
He is an absolute beast, and he's completely untackleable at times, particularly close to the line. I love watching him play. Onto the Storm v the Warriors. Storm have got the same 17, so that means Pappenhausen named despite that corked glute, and Xavier Coates named as well despite that slight hammy issue. Pappenhausen's popular this week, but I got on last week. I'm not happy. I'm not sad about it. But would you be buying this week?
Oh, it's hard to say. I don't think I would. There are injury concerns, but it looks like he'll just be playing through them. But he could go down at any time. I was kind of indifferent to his performance last week. Despite not playing the whole game, he still scored decently. I don't think I'd be getting on him this week, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Pappenhausen money, and I've got a flex spot open. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to make some Jerome Hughes money work. I think I'll bring in a Storm asset. The question is which one. We've got here Katoa, we've got Hughes, Grant Anderson.
Yeah.
You keen?
How good? No, I'm not going to go there. I got him a draft. He won me a draft game on the weekend. It was sensational. 4 tries. He looks like Vossi said in the commentary. He's the most improved. It might have been Brandy. He's the most improved player in rugby league. Like, it's pretty hard to argue. He looked really dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's one of the hardest working players out there when he's on the field. And every now and then he'll go down with what looks like a catastrophic injury, and then he'll be up and take a hit up the next set.
He's got a touch of the Dugans around him, doesn't he?
It looked like he did his ACL 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
He came back on us.
Yeah. But yeah, as you said, Munster, Katoa, Hughes, all really and Pappenhausen.
Not
all
Grant,
really
not Grant
popular.
though.
Not Grant.
Not Grant, as an owner myself.
Yeah,
not Grant.
Well, that was another one of my plans from a couple of weeks back, was that I would bring in Harry Grant as soon as he bottomed out. He has bottomed out, and I'm not bringing him in.
I honestly think the bottom could keep dropping.
Yeah.
But he got a try assist on the weekend. Like, what's happening? They just seem to like sharing all the attacking stats around.
What? As someone that owns Grant, I watch him closely. It's frustrating because whenever there's a quick play of the ball, the defense are just pulling them back down to stop Grant running out, and it's just killing him. But why would you, if you're Harry Grant, why would you go yourself when you've got Munster, Hughes, Pappenhausen just to give the ball to him like that thing?
He doesn't need them, and look, he does look to be carrying a bit of a knee injury as well, so keep an eye on that. Also at the Warriors, so they're back from the bye. Good to see Demetric Valmunga get dual position status on Monday, so you can flip him around when you're selling at some stage. Luke Metcalf, 5th most sold player. I sold last week. What do you think is going to happen with him going forward? It's just too much of a roller coaster for me.
Yeah, I don't think this is the matchup that he's going to be scoring very well in, so I think he is set to lose more cash this week. I think he's a sell at some point in the next few weeks. I don't think I'm going to be selling this week, but I think he's a sell.
On face value, he's an automatic sell, but the problem is there's no one to replace him with. 5'8" is just absolutely barren. But I think back to round 1. Mass sold after round 1. I held for round 2, held for a big ton, so I'm just praying, crossing all fingers and toes that I get some kind of performance out of him because I can't sell, I can't afford an upgrade.
Look, if you could go him to Cleary, I'd absolutely lock it in, but not that many other people. Knights v the Tigers. The Knights have those players I mentioned out. It's almost half a dozen out from the team from last week. Thomas Cant, I think we're all leaning towards him ahead of Dylan Egan. We really need to find out when Dylan Lucas is back, because Bradman Best, we'll have to hit up Barry Toohey on Twitter or something, because Bradman Best was saying on the Matty Johns show that he could have been back last week, but the club was saying he's out for 6 weeks all up. So I think that is the key injury. That's what it all hinges on. So I'll take the bullet. I'm gonna hit up Barry Toohey on Twitter as soon as we get off here. Kalen Ponga, 9th most sold player. he's got the break even of 150, but had that, I guess you could call it a shocker on the weekend, 30 odd points against the Dogs. But the Dogs are the best team in the competition at defence. It's no shame to be getting 30 against them. And then his run from here is absolutely incredible. It's basically the best run in the competition for the next 5 games.
Yeah, there's definitely points to be had over the next few weeks, so I definitely would not be selling. I think he's definitely a keeper.
I've got no interest in selling. Absolutely none. I've not even looked at it, not considered it.
And captaincy option this week as well in that final game. At the Tigers, they got Luai, Skelton, and Samuela Fanu back, but Latu Fanu is out. Alex Seyfarth, a lot of people are selling him. Royce Hunt is a guy who is just stinking up my AE, and I can sell him this week for either Cant or Egan. So that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think either of them is a no-brainer. I'd lock it in.
Heaps of questions coming in today. When we plugged that the Whisperer was on the show, there was way too many to even get to. So Leighton is asking, what does Fafita bottom out at? That's David Fafita. Look, his BE, I had a look. I know because he's in my team. It's 89, so he's pretty much bottomed out. He's lost about 100k. Is he an option going forward? Are you thinking David Fafita?
No, the utilisation is just all over the place. Des is doing Des things at the Titans, and there's just way too many red flags for me. I'm not interested at all. If I were you, I would have sold already, but
No, I should have. I'm just too stubborn.
It was just the worst concoction, wasn't it? Like, obviously Fafita's Fafita, but they had the buy in round 1, so you're just going inside on C, and then you're like, you just hold. But no, I think 89 break even. Could probably put up another 50 this week, lose another 20 odd K, and then look, if you wanted to buy him, next week's the time to do it, but I can't recommend.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think he plays Origin. He's certainly out of contention there, unless he does something incredible over the next couple of months. So could be an option over the buys, but their buy schedule is not great either. On to Jack Mitchell. He has said, who is the better trade in, Gutho or Hughes? It's a good question. Going on Sutherland's stat from before, which was that Gutho's averaged 46 in try assists and line break assists this year compared to 16 in the last 5 seasons. I'd say Gutho's coming down, so I would go towards Jerome Hughes, who of course will be crucial over the Origin period as well, given he can't play Origin.
Yeah, I mean Gutho is the key to the Dragons' attack at the moment, but I think I just would prefer the offensive player that's playing on a better offensive team, so I would go Hughes.
Question for you from Trav. Is Harry Grant a sell? So we're saying we wouldn't bring him in, but would you get rid of him?
The problem, it's the 5'8" conundrum, isn't it? Like, there's not really any hookers knocking down the door. You got Wade Egan, but
Yeah,
like if we had the Gutho conundrum. It's like, well, there's not runs on the board from prior years. So Grant, although I think it's just death by 1,000 cuts with hooker, I'm holding on. I'm stubborn, but sure. The question is to who? Maybe a Plath if Plath stays at 13.
Yeah, that's a decent call. Yeah, I would. If I had Harry Grant, I wouldn't be selling. No way. I think something big is coming from him soon. They can't be scoring all these points. They're averaging 36 points per game. He's going to get something big soon. He can't just be giving all the points to Pappenhausen and Hughes. Jacob Briggs has asked, who's a gun centre to bring in? 2 guys that are standing out for me. Lomax, you mentioned before, but probably not now. Valentine Holmes is coming down to a decent price as well, and has started kicking the ball straight, which is crucial.
Another one. We talk about the Knights draw. Bradman Best.
Yeah,
He's performed very well before that stinker on the weekend, and got a bit of glue hands about him. Not passing, which is great for Supercoach. He'll just take the line on. I think Bradman Best, if you wanted to go like really rogue, he could be the guy.
And Murray Wood is asking Hughes or Pappenhausen this week. I'd definitely go Hughes. The risk with injury with Pappenhausen is too much.
Yeah, agreed.
And then the final one is IPAP going to get front row dual positioning, which is an interesting one because has he started there twice? He certainly started there once.
He's off the bench every week now.
If he starts there 3 times, then he'll certainly get it. Looks like he has been playing a fair bit of middle. So, but that won't happen until round 12. That's when we do the next updates. So it's not like it happens every week. Wait around for round 12, and it could definitely happen. Big thanks to the Whisperer. Big thanks to Wilson Smith. We've got the preview podcast tomorrow with the NRL Guru. We'll catch you then.